What is going on, guys? Coach Jay here, and today's topic, we're going to be teaching you how to bodyweight squat properly. So we're going to be talking about misconceptions of the squat, your feet position, your knee angle, your core strength or stability, and your torso position. So before we're going to dive deep into these 5 topics on how to improve your squats, give this video a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and comment if you guys enjoy this video so you guys can help me increase the algorithm of the YouTube channel. So hope you guys enjoy this video and we'll get started. So one of the most common misconceptions I hear is that your knees can't pass your toes because it might cause pain. With that context, it's very, very vague and it's very misinformative. With that being said, for those who have previous knee pain or issues with their knees and that motion might exacerbate the pain, then yes, when you're doing a squat, that might cause pain. But for the general population, it might not. So to give you an example, if I were to keep my knees relatively at the same angle as, or keep it just behind my toes here, and when I squat, notice how my hips shifts back, but my knees can't pass the toes. So from here, all my weight is being distributed down to my heels, so that might cause a lot of imbalance. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of people you're gonna see a lot of different limb lengths. So what I mean by that is their femurs, their tibias, is gonna be different. So someone who's taller, if you're telling them to keep your knees past your toes and then they can't get down, again, it's going to cause them to shift back, or they need to be able to get to that angle by simply just shifting the knees a little bit more, so that way they feel the distribution of the weight to the middle of their foot. Because if someone who's really extremely tall, their legs might be a little bit longer, their torso might be longer, that's going to affect how they squat. So that's one misconception, that knees can't pass over the toes is very misinformative for the general population. So again, do your research, make sure that you guys don't have any issues with your knees. And for those who don't have previous knee injuries, feel free to squat past your toes. It's not gonna cause any knee pain unless you're doing some kind of squats that I have never seen before and the mechanics are completely wrong. But again, that's one misconception, that your knees can't pass your toes. It's a complete myth. Another misconception I hear is ATG, or ass to grass squats, where you simply try and get all the way down as low as you can into the squat, and that would be simply your most optimal squat. So in the name of context is king. Everyone's gonna be different. The name of ass to grass squats doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be the most optimal for everyone. If someone is injured and they can't go down as low as they can, then obviously it's gonna be different. So we have to modify for them. So to say that going down as low as you can, ass to grass or to the ground, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best squat. The best squat is the squat that works best for you in terms of injury prevention, if you're able to feel the muscles, and it's the right prescribed exercise for you that may or may not hinder your progress in terms of reaching your fitness goals. How we're gonna set up with our feet position is general reference. This is a starting guideline, so it's not to say this is the end all be all. So start with shoulder width apart, okay? Your toes pointed completely straight. From this point on, you're gonna slightly turn about 20 to 30 degrees out with your toes, just like that, okay? From here, feet shoulder width apart, okay? From here, that's gonna be your feet position. Everyone's feet position is gonna be a little bit different in terms of their leg length. So again, how long their femur is, how long is their shin bone or their tibia. That's gonna dictate how much they're able to squat depth and how much they're gonna be able to move efficiently. So if you're not able to squat all the way down in this position, try a little bit wider to help you open up the hips. The reason why we wanna turn out our toes about 20 to 30 degrees is to slightly open up our hip socket. That way you're able to sit down a little bit lower. So with that being said, it's not to say that you're gonna be squatting like this. You're gonna be able to stretch out your groin from there. Experiment the feet position, see what works best for you. It's not to say that toe straight is the best. If you're not able to get in this position, it's totally fine for you to open up your feet and be able to get a little bit lower and squat back up. So the next part we're gonna be talking about is the knee angle or knee position. So once we have our feet established, get in that position and notice my kneecaps in line with my toes, okay? So from here, keep an eye fairly in line, okay? And then notice a difference between now, just like that, okay? So there's a complete difference in terms of how my knee collapses in, or if it collapses out when you squat, Okay, that's one of the most common mistakes that I see with beginners learning how to bodyweight squat is when their knee collapses in or their knee collapses out, which is also known as a term called knee valgus, when your knee turns in, or knee varus when it turns out. So oftentimes or not, that just simply means that either you have some kind of weakness or you have instability or you're compensating with a different muscle that needs to be addressed. So how the knee angle or the knee position works is try and visualize your kneecap and just try and make sure it's in a straight line as you squat. So from here, in the same line where it doesn't feel your knee collapse in or collapse out. Another great way to do it is just squat down slow. Another thing that I see is people who try to do it really fast, just like that. And sometimes when you do it super fast, your body doesn't really respond to making that technical error. So make sure squat a little bit slower to understand the mechanics and really feel the muscles. You will feel a lot more if you go slower because you get the tension in that quad muscle here. Taking that time and really feeling the burn in the quads, it's a huge difference comparing doing it fast. So if you guys are starting to learn the bodyweight squat, make sure to take your time and squat properly and really feel the muscles using it. So the next part we're going to talk about is how to brace your core when we're into the squat. So when we're talking about core stability, we're talking about how to engage the lower abdominals. So a really quick way to just try and engage your core is you're going to inhale through your nose and then you're going to exhale through your mouth really rapidly. So it's going to be like this. So with that breathing, make sure when you're breathing out, it's almost like you're closing your lips pretty hard. So as you tend to exhale out in that lisp, your muscle starts to contract a little bit tighter as you're exhaling out. That's a little quick way to engage your core. If you guys haven't watched my video on how to engage your core for beginners, the link is up here. So when we're talking about core stability, we're trying to sync our breathing with our squat while engaging our core the whole time. So when we're squatting here, just like that, a key part here is breathing. So a lot of people, they don't tend to sync their breathing into the different movements into the squat. So again, from here, you're gonna engage your core, inhale through the nose, and as you come down, engage that core and come back up. So essentially what you're doing is you're gonna inhale just before you squat. You're gonna hold that breath in just so you can engage that core. As you come up, you're gonna squat up, okay? So from here, engage your core, inhale just before you come down, and then hold that abdominal bracing, and squat up as you exhale out. So once you guys master that breathing pattern in terms of the body weight squat, it's gonna be a lot easier once you guys have some load on you or some weights, just because, again, learning how to engage your core is almost like the engine of your car. If you're not putting gas in that engine, you're not gonna be moving. So again, the engine is pretty much our core. If our core is not working, our whole squat mechanics and everything else is gonna be falling apart. So the next thing we're talking about is torso position. So what I mean by torso position is your shoulder down to your waist. We're looking at that angle and that straight back. So from here, we already established our feet, we established our knee, and we're engaging our core. Okay, from here, notice how my upper back to my lower back is straight, okay? It's not completely all the way back. If I do this, my weight's gonna shift back, okay? So slight lean forward is fine, as long as you're making sure your core is engaged, your upper back's slightly engaged by squeezing the upper back muscles, and you're coming down and back. The common mistake that I see is when we're coming down to a squat, it's either some people don't engage their core or they just have a weak upper back where they start to round like this. Okay, notice how complete difference from here to here. There's a big difference in terms of trying to keep that torso angle straight. So that's something to be aware about when you're coming down a squat, is making sure your upper back is straight from all the way down and back up. So another thing to address is your footwear and what kind of shoes you wear depending when you squat. It can kind of throw you off in terms of your balance, or it might not be the best kind of shoes for stability in the long run. So we're gonna go through different kinds of shoes to show you what are some of the best shoes you should squat in. So what I have here is a running shoes or casual walking shoes. So we can see here is the heel drop is quite thick. Okay, so from the actual base of the foot to the bottom of the sole here is quite thick here, so you're actually getting quite a distance away from the ground when you're squatting. And another thing too here is the curvature of the shoes. So, and it's also quite flexible, it's quite bendy. It's really comfortable, but in terms of squatting in these might not be the best for beginners when you're starting out, just because if you're squatting with these, you're losing a lot of surface area to the ground. So it's not as flat, so that could throw your balance off, and in the long run, it's gonna be a very bad habit for you guys to squat in. So with these shoes, I recommend walking, running with them, but when you're squatting or doing some kind of resistance exercise, it's not gonna be the best choice in terms of using these kind of shoes. When we're talking about good shoes, we're talking about flat shoes. So the best shoes for squatting or any kind of resistance training is to find the most flat shoes you have. So what we have here is just a normal Converse or any kind of flat shoes. You can see here the front part, it's less curvature, and the bottom here it's quite stiff, it's very sturdy. The heel drop, it's fairly the same, but as long as the whole shoes is quite flat to the surface, it's a good shoes to train in, just because, again, flatter the surface of your shoes, the more balance you're gonna be able to have. Or if you want, you can just squat with your feet. It's gonna be the best choice if you guys don't have any of these shoes just to start off. So if you guys do have a choice, go for a flat shoe, something like this, like a Converse. So that's what I recommend. Hope you guys found something useful in this video, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe to the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.